As we play Ken out of this speaker, and the mic picks it up, and it'll sound awful, but then people can hear what he's saying.
Yeah. Check. Nope. That's. Oh. Oh, that's good. It's on now. Sweet. We're live.
Recording stopped.
Do you want me to talk? Yeah. I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah. Yeah. Going on.
We can hear us. We can hear Ken. Ken, give us a little check 1 2.
Check 1 2. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Everyone watching, let us know if there's any audio difficulties, but it looks good on our end. So I'm gonna hope it goes through the internet.
Welcome to ponyHAUS Presents Neighborhood.
This is our first event. It's so exciting.
It's going to be a big weekend, and we're excited you're all here to join from the very beginning.
And this is the best event I think that we could come with for our very first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the scale, this is beyond expectations.
Yeah. Yeah, we are so excited to have Ken Moffatt here, who is the Jack Layton Chair at MJ and I's alma mater. We're both now graduated.
From X University.
Yeah, Ken has been really generous in donating some financial support for our artists as well, so we're able to give him a little bit of money. And beyond just that, obviously, we're very excited to have Ken here because as the Jack Layton Chair, he always treats arts as a political motivator.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can speak a little bit more to the Jack Layton Chair as a institution.
Yeah, so the institution of the Jack Layton Chair has kind of been a political advocacy event space at Ryerson for a long time. It's a chair that provides funding for events related to, in the past, related to politics. It was very connected to, obviously, the NDP. That's why it has Jack Layton's name at the title. And since Ken has taken the role of the chair, the big kind of push has been to provide funding to arts projects as a way of connecting arts to political advocacy and kind of blurring the lines between the two. And because I think as a lot of people who are watching know, politics is so interrelated to arts and so important to each other that they really can't be ignored. And that's something that I've really appreciated working with Ken over the last few years on the various events he's been running, is that aspect of how he's kind of taken the mission of the Jack Layton Chair to the arts world. And I'm sure he'll be able to speak more about that when we start talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here.
So happy that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a good introduction of the Layton Chair. I'll just add a little bit, not just supporting financially, but also, as MJ knows, because we worked on a pretty elaborate piece which I also put on events and put people together in a room with a leadership skill. There's any number of things that we do, but that's a good this I've seen the talk ladders.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do
Well-
it on our end
I
as
was
well.
very happy to. Pardon me.
We're gonna try to up you on our end as well. Yeah, because you
Okay.
sound good to us. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Got
I
it.
was invited into a ponyHAUS show, and I thought there was a special quality to ponyHAUS. So I asked to speak to Evie and Emjay, and out of that we've come up with this idea of an interview, and I'm very happy to support this weekend and the type of work you're doing. So why don't I just get into some questions? And we'll treat it as if not everyone knows who ponyHAUS is, right? So we'll just start with some basic questions. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about each of you, and then when you came together as ponyHAUS, the two things.
Sure.
All the way at the beginning.
What if we start with you, Evie?
Yeah.
All the way from the beginning.
When were you born? Where were you born?
I was born here, not too long ago. Yeah, so I'm a visual artist. I studied film and hybrid media in school. Yeah, I guess I've always been drawn to how arts can be used to communicate properly. And I think a big part of my practice is sort of like demystifying the art world. I find a lot of time art is put on like a pedestal and it seems unachievable and sort of idealized. And I think through a lot of my work, I've come to realize that it is more accessible once people actually get into it, and it should be made more accessible because once people are given new ways to communicate and express themselves, like stuff just becomes easier. So I find that I'm not a very like fun art friend because I try to sort of break down the barrier and like lift this like mystery veil of the art world that I find really irritating. Yeah, that people like to perpetuate, I think, to just keep people out. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that was great. I am not a visual artist. I'm a musician. I've been drumming for a long time, and I met Evie at X University. My degree is not really related to, not at least not directly related to my work on ponyHAUS and otherwise, but I started working in experimental music in Toronto. I worked in an event called Audio Pollination, which was kind of an open space that collectively curated trios of musicians who just kind of wanted to play together, and there was no practicing. I rarely knew the people I was playing with beforehand, and we all just kind of got to make noise together, and it was some of the most fulfilling experiences of my life, is playing at those events. Right now it's closed because of the pandemic, but I think being a part of an event that was so directly focused on welcoming everyone, as many people as possible who wanted to be a part of the show, encouraging people to just kind of collaborate and connect to each other, really kind of out of nowhere, has really inspired me to want to do that myself. I think that it's really important, like you said, to make spaces accessible and not try and lock people out, as oftentimes can happen in the kind of niche music and arts worlds. It can feel very scary to come into a room of people who don't know, who all seem very cool and cooler than you and have been doing this for a long time. And oftentimes there's an intentional attitude in those spaces that tries to keep people out. You really have to like work through the ranks and even get the chance to play. And I came to one of these Audio Pollination shows. I asked the guy if I could play the next one. He's like, "Of course, yeah, sign up." And it was like the most welcoming thing I've ever experienced. And Ken, you've met Michael, who ran those shows. He played at a Jack Layton event we ran for Meyer. Yeah, and he's a good friend of mine now, and I think that is kind of a huge turning point in my experience of creating art and music, and I wanted to continue doing that in the digital realm now that we're here.
Yeah, and then I guess our coming together is linked to the event that you were referencing that the Jack Layton Chair ran on Twitch. MJ organized that. MJ asked me to be one of the visual artists.
And like a technician. And an emotional support person for me during that event, for sure.
I got the coffee and whatever. And I think from that, on our walk home back from that, we were like, hey, that went pretty well. And
yeah.
That was fairly easy to kind of I mean, easier than we thought, even though we've hit like so many technical difficulties right now trying to set up a Zoom room.
It's all very doable. And
yeah.
we can do it. And we're like, we did that once. Do you want to keep doing that? Do you want to do that in different ways? And that's kind of how ponyHAUS was born.
Yeah. And we were a part of some other Twitch streams that prioritized music very heavily. And so me being a part of some of those as a visual artist, I felt very much in a secondary role. And with COVID seeing exhibition spaces disappear for visual artists, we thought this would be an example or a good platform to kind of give visual artists some like a new digital space.
An equal place with the music, because it doesn't have to be secondary, especially the way we try to run ponyHAUS is that it's an equal platform for both visual artists and musicians, and so that's always been very important to us and will continue to be.
Right already, you're right into it. So let me just pick up on some of your ideas. I mean, one of the things that was very impressive to me about ponyHAUS is the accessibility to get online with you, and there, it seemed to me the kind of do-it-yourself quality of the technology. You were taking it and using it. And you know, these networks of exclusion you talk about, they happen by big institutions being special. I think also, like you say, certain artists may need to know they're in a very rarefied group of art, an artist, and commercial purposes have to create a limited access to art in order to create a need or a want or a desire for income. And I think, so I was going to say, like, when I first went to a ponyHAUS event on Twitch, which was all new for me, I felt like it reminded me, and I shared the story with you before, it reminded me of a friend of mine a number of years ago, I think back around 1999 or something, told me I must go to this event called Vaseline at El Macombo, and I was like, no, I'm far too old to go to club events, and things have changed for me. And I went, and I arrived, and he was absolutely right. His name was Patrick DeCoste, or is Patrick DeCoste, and he was absolutely right. I must go to that event. And I thought, there's someone behind this event. This event is very intentional, and that person was Will Monroe. It seems, who had a very intentional way of putting something on. I felt the same. I am coming to a question. I felt the same in coming into the ponyHAUS Twitch, that this was quite intentional. This was special. And so could you talk about a little bit about your ethics of ponyHAUS, or your intentions or principles behind it, if you could put it any way you want to call it? What do you want to call it?
Interesting.
Our ethics.
Ethics.
No, it doesn't have to be ethics. That sounds cool. You know what I mean?
Be chill.
Your intention. There's an intent there. I can tell behind it. Let's put it that way.
I think our intentionality is very simple, right? It's that we wanted to give artists a space, and I think the way we run it, it's also very easy because we live together. It's really easy to have conversations about, as we're growing, as things are changing, how should we be responding? But I think at the core of everything we're doing, we want to be as hands-off as possible, and all we're doing is providing space.
Yeah, we really just invite artists to create something together, and we don't really have any other say in it. Sometimes artists are like, I hope this is the kind of thing you want for our show, and we're just anything.
Like,
it's yours. Silly question. It's your stage. It's your concert space.
I don't care at all.
Yeah,
we had some people for this show kind of, is it okay if I submit this to film festivals? Is it okay if I share this before? And it was like, we don't own anything. Like, all we want to do is, like, we have a computer and we know how to run Twitch to some extent.
Yep. And then we want to pay people eventually, and we try our best to support artists, but that is the hardest part of any arts event, right, is getting funding, which is why we're so thankful to you, Ken, for supporting this event. But yeah, we try and give every artist at least a little bit of money every time we do run a show.
I think that's been our main goal, is just providing space.
Space, exactly.
Yeah, and then the best way that we can do that. And then I think from, like, an aesthetic standpoint, for lack of a better term, like, the things that we have control over is that we're trying to fill the digital space to the brim, like as far as we can, and we're trying to, because I mean we go to a fair amount of live streams, and I
Yeah.
think we can see how some live streams as you're scrolling on Twitch, like they're messy for lack of a better term. They don't seem
Yeah.
like they fully understand that they're online.
They feel like a radio show sometimes rather than what a Twitch stream could be, and we try our best to be that as much as it's possible.
Yeah,
Really,
or it's
like,
a news show or it's a television show, and it's not something that is made for the internet.
or it's just a live stream of a band playing on stage, and it just makes me sad to watch because I'm like, I wish I was there in person, and that's something we were really devoted to, is trying to create something different than what it would be like in a real concert space. And this is not something you can really, hopefully when people are watching sets and watching us talk and hang out between sets, they're not feeling like, well, I can just be seeing this in a concert. This is something different. This is something they can only experience online.
We're not trying to be a placeholder. I think that's
Yeah.
language that we use a lot, is that because especially when we made this, it was what, October of last year, and we
Yeah.
were like, well, in a couple months we're going to be back outside, so and that didn't happen.
Still inside now.
But we thought, we want to make something that has longevity, that this isn't just a, like, yeah, it's not just a holdover for when we're allowed to be back in person.
No, exactly. I think there's a lot of benefit to this kind of online space that we can host shows on, because we were able to have artists from other countries, have an artist from Athens and artists from Connecticut connect, and they do a set together, which could never happen if the show had to be taking place live in Toronto. So I think taking advantage of that is something we're really devoted to as much as possible.
This is probably a good moment to just interject. If in terms of, I want to come back to the notion of space, and I think you're doing it so effectively. But prior to that, if someone had not seen a ponyHAUS show, could you just describe what it is, like as simply as possible, or as complicated as possible? Just what would they be seeing? What would be going on?
This is
What-
something I try to get my mom to do.
Oh, yeah, you did
I like to listen to. I think she's watching.
She is
but she
watching.
tries
Oh,
to
is
explain it
she?
to her
That's
friends.
great. Hi to your mom.
When I ask artists to be a part of the show, I usually
Yeah.
describe it as an online audio-visual showcase. Really pushing that it's both at the same time. People are going to experience various art forms converging, music and visual art, and all kinds of both.
And I think at its base level, like when you tune in tonight,
Which you should.
everyone watching should tune in tonight, you're gonna see me and MJ talking.
Yeah.
We play some games.
It's kind of like a variety show.
Yeah, we try to push some Toronto-centric stuff, I think, a little bit.
Yep.
We are Toronto-based in terms of, like, some mutual aid organizations that are here. And then the bulk of the show is artists will put on a 20 to 30-minute performance.
Yeah. Or equivalent.
Yeah, we pair them together, one musician, one visual artist, and then they go. And then they come back in 2 weeks with 20 to 30 minutes of stuff.
It's a beautiful baby for us that
Yeah.
we put on display.
And then we throw it on the internet.
Yeah, and then we just chill in between.
And it's wonderful to watch. It's wonderful to watch the music and the visuals simultaneously together. You've done such an effective job, and I feel like they play off each other and create a whole new life together. And in that way, I would say it's, like you say, it's not watching a concert where you wish you would be in the room. It's something new and different. It's very effective, I think, if I might. So the other, I'm going to come back to space, holding space, and I'm referring to some own history I've had in the arts community. And I know the people and places I reference are only part of a huge alternative art scene that has existed in Toronto for decades and decades, probably forever, but we only know within our own memory, right? So I can say it's been around since the 70s, but probably I know it existed before then. But space, so important. I've been thinking about space and holding space. I video fag, which was in Kensington Market. I was not allowed because they were so welcoming in the way you were, to put a show on there. And it was really about space. The space was non-commercial. It wasn't filled with policy and procedure. You know what I mean? I know you know what I mean. But this idea of space is so important. I used to think of space, and also affordable space, nonprofit space. Um, um, and I was thinking how, I'm going to throw out another name, Jaja Gallery was on Queen West. Andrew Harwood lived in the back. That's part of how he afforded the space. Video fag Jordan Tannehill and William Ellis lived in the back. And here you are, I believe, in your home, right?
Yeah,
Even
that's
though
our
it's
space.
online, it's kind of a strange parallel. I know that's not a question, it's an observation. Can you talk a little bit more about space and the two of you and where you are?
Yeah, I think we're able to run the show because we're in the same physical space all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think, because we were born of the pandemic and we live in a house with a lot of people and a lot of very similar people, we're very fortunate in that we didn't really lose a lot of community when we had to remain inside. Like, we have a little one right here. And I think that was something that we were cognizant of, is that some people were at home by themselves or with their families, and it's different than being with your peers. Um, and I think that was a goal for us as well, to kind of like extend like our house community and our
Yeah.
support.
Because when you're watching the show, you're very much just watching us hang out in our basement, and you're welcome to hang out with us. Like, there's a chat on Twitch that people participate in, and we encourage people to talk to us and with each other, and which is kind of the main benefit of Twitch in general, is having this. And I think, yeah, we hopefully inspire some positivity in other people around the world, amongst a very lonesome and isolating time, at least in some sense. I think that's also why it's important that it's not just a concert space. It's something different. It's not a reminder of the past. Times past, the bygone era. It is something different that you're taking part in.
And we've been calling ourselves a mutual aid space for a while, which I think is, like, at the end of our show, if you say at the end of our show, you get to fill out a little form that includes your address, and we send you a physical piece of mail. And I think we started doing that our second show, and it was an idea. A lot of our ideas are just like, it would be really stupid. And we should do it because, like,
this is funny.
because no one's in charge of us, and we're just inside, so let's do something really dumb. But the idea was, wouldn't it be funny as if all of these, like, online friends that we have, we only know their screen name, we ask them for their home address, and we send them a letter in the mail. Like, that would be so funny.
We sent them an object from my room that I just found. The last month was just, like, a bunch of crap from my desk that I sent out to people, and they were like, thanks, I guess.
We've written little handwritten notes.
Little origami horses.
Little origami horses.
Pony theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I think that's a way that, I was talking to this, they're like an arts community based out of New York. I don't remember how I got on a Zoom call with them.
Oh, cool.
But anyway, and I was talking about ponyHAUS, and it was, I told her, it was funny because I felt like I was sharing something kind of stupid to her. I was like, oh, we send letters at the end of our show because we think it's funny. And her reaction to it was like, that's a really good way to, take things offline. And now you've reminded people that you're a physical person and that you exist in physical space. Like, we have one viewer in Kingston who we send mail to quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun because every time, he'll post it on his Instagram story and he's like, wow, they're sending this all the way from Toronto. And it's like, yeah, it's the mail. Like, we can just kind of throw it in.
Yeah. We have friends in the States who tune in. We have connected to a lot of artists down there. I mean, you're from Rochester, so that's great. And Connecticut, we have lots of people all around the world who are kind of able to connect with us physically and online.
Yeah, I'm making an association. I just signed up. Rhea McNamara is a Toronto curator, an excellent Toronto curator, who just is about to launch. Unfortunately, I don't have the name because I didn't know I was going to be speaking about Rhea's show, but she's about to launch a mail order art show. So you sign up and you get art mailed to you. So very similar kind of making it real, interconnecting art with people again, and in different ways. Um, so it's nice to see these associations. I love the let's go to the do it yourself quality. I love that you said you mail things off your desk. Whatever happens to be around is what you mail out. And I guess these are the prizes or whatever, the
Yeah.
reward.
Yeah. It's like the first 10 people that get the form. They get.
Yeah,
Someone got a
They-
paperclip chain.
that's
Someone got a
great.
pin.
Yeah.
So let's talk about just do it yourself. I mean, you're doing this with very few resources. What are you technically used? Yeah, maybe let's just talk about what is the technology of this. Let's make it a little transparent what you work on and how you work it.
Sure.
Let's
Yeah.
start there.
Yeah. I mean, we run most of the visuals off of my MacBook, which I would not advise if people are listening and they want to get into this. Do not buy a Mac; it's the worst. I didn't know.
Do not support Tim Cook's
Okay.
terrible company.
Yeah, the graphics card is not good. But I think that speaks to, like we're limited in the equipment that we have.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say we're not do it ourselves by choice. It's just kind of the only option we have is to just kind of
Right.
use whatever gear we have around. I have some sound equipment, one that I bought off a friend, a console I bought off a friend, and a mixing board that I got from my dad because he used to do like audio tech stuff.
Right.
And so that's basically all we run audio out of.
Yeah,
The-
we plug it into the TV downstairs so we can see it a little bit bigger when
Yeah.
we do our shows.
yeah.
It's like I think we bought a webcam
Yep.
and I
Yeah.
bought a MIDI board.
I bought a bunch of cords.
So we maybe invested like what, $200 in the equipment.
Probably
based on what we
$2
don't have.
tops, yeah.
Yeah. And
Amazing.
I think,
Thanks, Dad.
yeah. But I think based on like resources DIY, a lot of our equipment is stuff that we already owned, but I think why we're able to run is because people donate their labor.
Yes.
Like we don't get paid for this, but we're running it, so that kind of makes sense.
That's
but
fine.
we have, our roommates help us run the chat the day of. All of the artists are donating their time, and then this time we had a community outreach lead, if we want to give them the title.
Yeah,
Nara.
I like that title.
Yeah, who helped us like find sponsorship and kind of bring in some of our raffle prizes. So I think, yeah, we've had Brittany's helped us out with grants
Oh,
and
yeah.
sort of our Twitch back stream. So way more important than I think our like physical tech equipment is that people have been donating their time and their skills,
For no
which
money.
is why we can run this event. Like it looks like a huge laundry list of stuff, but we just emailed people and we were like, hey, you do X, can you do it for us? And we'll put it on the internet. And
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
say yes, and that's why.
And what I'm talking about, so, yeah. I mean, I started by asking about the technology, but even as you talk, it becomes clear it's about the imagination. The DIY, in a way, is what you make of this, and it's very imaginative. The other thing is I think you're quite successful in being immediate. Like, you really know you're watching something live. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel canned, and I guess that's a good quality of DIY as well. I also like, if I might, there might be little glitches and mistakes at times, and you just talk right through them, right? With good humor. Do you want to? Can you talk a little bit about that? How you deal with glitches, or how
Yeah,
you
we-
create immediacy?
I don't know what you mean. We've never made a mistake in the show or had any problems. Not even at the beginning, right before we started this. No, I think we're both very funny people, and I can say that without coming off as pretentious.
Yes.
And so I
Yeah.
think that's really just the only way. That's one of the only ways we get through it is we gotta laugh through it, and you can't get frustrated and pissed off forever. You gotta have some levity about yourself and about what you're doing, because if you don't, you're gonna come off like those artist communities we talked at the beginning, where it's like you have to be perfect. It's
Right.
really intimidating. There's no way in. if there's little glitches and mistakes, it seems more relatable to people, and everyone, it feels more accessible to people who can do it. And I feel like we can say, like, anyone watching this could probably do this on some level. Like,
100%.
it's not that hard to send emails and set some stuff up. It might be a little bit of gear, but even without the gear, it's possible. And I think being very transparent about the mistakes that we make also make that very clear.
And I think we operate, because we'll have conversations all the time, like, what happens if this doesn't go through? What happens if, you know, we need to change this?
Yeah.
And I think our baseline I would come back to was like, we're doing this for fun.
Yeah,
like,
this is
doesn't
fun.
matter.
So like, I get stressed out
Yeah.
about lots of things, and then at the end of the day, it's like, if something doesn't happen, then the show goes on. There's no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I put
No.
the wrong title up on the screen.
We apologize and
We go, oops,
move on.
and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I think as long as we're, you know, we're not messing up the artist work that they've done,
Yeah.
Yes.
and like that sort of stuff, that's the stuff that I think we're very careful about and we get stressed out about, obviously. But everything that we do, there's like so many spellings and mistakes in everything we do. Like,
I am so fine if people know I can't spell
yeah.
or speak, frankly.
And we have to do that because otherwise we would get stressed out.
Yeah.
I'm not getting paid for this.
Yeah,
so
that's
I'm
the
not
thing.
gonna-
Yeah. We're not getting paid for
Yeah.
this. Why get that worried about it? I tell myself, because I do get worried about it all the time, so I need to say that aloud.
No, well, I mean, there's so many ways I could go with this, but I do want to clarify, you know, I talked about glitches and mistakes. There's not that many, honestly. But they are, you really manage them really in a very cool, fun way. And the art is incredible. The visual and musical performances are incredible. Their quality,
like-
in my mind.
When we were ordering these, like the shows for this weekend,
Yes.
it's like unbelievable what people can do and that they're willing to like give it to us.
Yeah.
It like blows my mind every single time.
In like a month, they just kind of put this together, and it's some of the best stuff I've ever seen. And the show
Yeah.
would not be as big as it was if we didn't know so many talented people. Like, that is the bulk of what we do, is showing this amazing work.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited for everyone to see what we have on store, because
Yeah.
there's some amazing sets. Every set's amazing. But I have my favorites.
Yeah.
You can't say that.
I can say that.
I mean, when I look at it, I mean, sometimes I just think the labor and the art that's then submitted to your platform or your show, however you want to word it, so much labor of love, I guess. Nobody's kind of getting paid, right?
No,
Yeah.
we do our best, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know they're not doing it for the money.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe someday.
I've got a little bit of a segue. I was thinking when I was thinking about talking this morning, how, you know, the few examples I've given, and as I say, there's so many other examples, but the few I've given, there's always personalities tied to it. It is space, but it's also important personalities, I believe, in a way, are tied to the space, not as celebrities necessarily, but as sort of a way to know you are welcome, you can come in. You know, so Jordan and Will and Video Fag, Andrew at Jaja. There was a way they, very similar to what you're saying, you know, like, we're not telling you what to submit. You just do your work, we'll show it. You two, I think, are very, if I might say, are very important to ponyHAUS. Of course, you're on all the time through the shows, but you're very important. I mean, I think you have a nice way between yourselves, and a kind of permissive quality to the way you present. I know it's a little bit of a tough question, but can you talk about yourselves a little bit as online personas? Who are you? Like, here's a simple question: who are you? But I'm just making transparent that I do think you create the quality of what ponyHAUS is.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we think about, like, especially when we
Yeah.
go offline at the end of the show, we're like, "Blah." Like your brain melts a little bit.
Yeah.
We talk about this. We had a conversation a while ago, just even about how we speak during the show, and it's never
Uh-huh.
something we've directly discussed beforehand. But like when we're on camera, the way we go back and forth is very different than how we speak to each other in real life. And we are friends in real life. We're not putting that on for the camera, but
Uh-huh.
there's a way in which that we
Could you imagine?
we never speak. Maybe someday. The the yeah. So like, I think it's we are friends and we hang out all the time in real life, on and off the show, and we have this way of just kind of bouncing back and forth when we're on camera that is not necessarily intentional, but it is somewhat contrived. We don't like interrupt each other when we're speaking on the show. We're like, there's less active listening. I think is one key thing that's different to not interrupt each other for those who are listening. So that's
Yeah.
one difference between ourselves and our two kinds of ourselves, I guess.
Yeah. And then I think behind the scenes we're a good balance
Yeah.
because I think you are very hardworking and I am very lazy.
Oh, come on.
Okay, I will say this.
That's not true.
I'm very lazy in that I want to do like the minimum amount of work to make something
Efficient.
good.
You're
So like,
efficient.
to be fair, yeah, I spent like a lot of time building the show file. Like, I spent
Yeah,
hours and hours
absolutely you
building it.
did.
But I'm doing it so that during the actual show I can just like sit and
Yeah.
press a couple buttons and everything is like pretty automated. And I think that's why I think we both like to do all of our work at the beginning
Yeah.
so that we don't have to do any work.
We try and
during.
get ahead of things.
And that's why we're able to run shows, I think, so quickly. Like
Yeah.
we have a show on the 30th of this month, so it's like, you know, less than a month turnaround. We talked
Yeah.
about, you know, do we want to have a show this month? Do we want to wait until the end of August? We were like, we got all the stuff written.
Yeah,
So all
it's
we
like
gotta
set.
do is pull people in.
We just gotta message people the same things we always message people and hope they say yes, and then connect them, and then our work is done until the week of. Like, it's very
We want to do as little work
straightforward.
as possible.
Yeah, and I'm very lucky to have someone who is extremely hardworking and good at what she does.
I'm only hardworking to be lazy.
and I think we definitely complement each other in the kinds of skills we have behind the scenes, with audio, with visuals, with different kinds of communication.
I don't know if that answers the question about our online
Definitely.
personas.
No, definitely. And I also just wanted to make the observation of the importance of you in this space. And I'm assuming it also that you draw so many quality artists, it has to be part of the interaction you have with them as well.
That's all MJ.
Is that
MJ
right?
does all of the emails. I can't do it. I'm too mean in emails.
Yeah, we permit each other to both get more pissed or be nicer. I think that's good.
That's good balance.
So who is your community, your participants, your audience? Who do you imagine it to be?
Our parents.
Yeah, just our parents. Our parents come to every show.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
good start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of broke, bored college students or recent grads, or the adult equivalent, as Evie put it, which is like 30-something artists, like the same kind of people. A lot of people who make art themselves. We have a lot of people who are from past shows who come to every show, which is really nice.
Yeah.
That's a huge bulk of it. Is just a lot of friends and friends and friends, friends of friends.
I think we draw people that have a similar mindset that they want to make stuff
Definitely.
and they don't necessarily need the stuff to go somewhere. It's more about having the place to show it and the response from people who are like-minded.
They just enjoy creating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And showing off work. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not a very commercial.
And I've heard that in your shows. I've heard that in your shows. I've heard, you know, I was just watching a show where I thought that, I heard one of the musicians say, just thank you for having me on so I can show my work, that there's a place for that. So we're already kind of coming near the end of time, so I'll ask a few more questions of you. One is the emotional life of a show. I'm sure it's quite emotional in a way, quite thrilling, quite exhausting. Can you talk about a little bit about the emotional life of the show? Or this weekend? No, you don't.
This
This
weekend.
Already
weekend,
come there. This
we're
is
in the thick
happening.
of it now, so
Yeah,
can't go
you're
back
in the
now.
thick of it. Don't talk about that now. Oh, that's too difficult.
We're different because you're very anxious.
I'm anxious during the show.
When we set up,
Yeah.
like you're down there.
I get down there like 2 hours ahead of time. I'm very much puttering around, making sure everything's like as perfect as possible.
And I roll in 15 minutes before. And it definitely stresses MJ out.
Every time.
And I know that. But I'm ready. So I don't need to be there. Except
yeah.
for when I'm not, but we fix it.
So yeah, I get very bouncy and bubbly, and you are very lax. And I've actually my dad told me that kind of reflects the dynamic of the show, compared to like you think about like the usual male-female dynamic on like a radio show. Usually the woman is very bubbly and like laughing at everything, and the male is very like closed off and dry. We're very much the reverse, which I really like about our show.
Yeah.
And about us in general. So I think that causes different emotional effects at the end of the show. We're very tired.
Like when we log off, you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, we watch something, usually we watch something really dumb.
Yeah.
Because I need to like turn
Yeah.
my brain off because I've been on for so long.
And then yeah, the next day we sleep in sometimes.
I'm always in a fog the next day.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
I have no emotional energy.
I think you're more introverted than I
Oh,
am.
100%.
So I get a little more energized the next day after doing it, just because I feed off the text from people. But yeah, we different ways of processing.
Yeah. So you talked about the Layton Chair, and me as the Layton Chair Jack Layton Chair being interested in artist politics. And it doesn't have to be capital P politics, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be party politics either. Politics has many different forms. So I'm going to ask a couple of sort of big questions here at the end. Is there a politics of ponyHAUS, or what is your politic? How's that? I didn't prepare you for this.
No, I love that question.
Way to go, right? Like, there you go. Answer a simple question.
This is so powerful. Well, we do make calls. We've kicked people out of our chat.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Is that
yeah.
count as politics?
That's something.
Yeah,
Well, that's something
politics,
politicky, and that's
absolutely.
related to space as well.
Yeah.
Because I think we talked about, in an ideal world, the space would be open and everybody would behave, so we wouldn't have to, like, control anything. But we've had a couple times where
People are mean.
people are mean. And we had
Yeah.
the discussion, because we can talk when the actual set is on, but we had someone sending, like, mean comments in the chat
Yeah.
about the actual performance. And then we discussed, like, are we allowed to kick this person out? And then we decided,
Like, immediately, it was
yeah.
like, yeah.
You're on my internet page, and I don't like what
Yeah.
you're saying, so, like,
Yeah.
that's not what
get out of here.
that's, like, not what I want. You're being rude you can be rude to us, I don't necessarily care, but it was specifically about the quality of art.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you're at a concert and there's a heckler shouting at the opener to like get off the stage and get the next artist on, they're gonna get kicked out, and that's the same thing in our show.
Yeah, and I think it's because we also, like, we have a really broad variety
Of work.
of work, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of different, so we bring in a lot of different crowds, and and I think to our benefit, like, you're able to be exposed to, like, more underground styles, or, styles that maybe not, you can't show at a bar, at a concert or whatever, but if you're gonna roll in and, like,
Be a dick.
like, not care about, like, call something
Yeah.
a knockoff of something else.
Well, that's completely
So don't be a dick is one of
Yeah.
our politics for sure.
right. Yeah. No, and I think that's a politic of protecting the space and protecting the artists, and also having wide variance of expression within the space. So not everyone's going to like everything.
Yeah.
They don't have to be dicks, right?
Yeah.
This weekend is even more eclectic than often we usually have. Tonight's
Yeah.
going to be a very dance focused, a lot of techno and house, and
Yeah.
tomorrow's a very experimental electronic vibes, like all different directions. So I
Fantastic.
hope that people find something new this weekend that they enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's why it's great that it's online too, because it's like,
You can just leave.
just turn it off.
Yeah.
Just mute us.
Walk away.
So our viewers stay up, mute us, and then go on Facebook, and then
Yeah.
come back in 20 minutes and there's something else.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're already
I said there's only two. I'm going to ask two more quick questions. I'm suddenly aware we talk so easily. I know we only have about 5 more
We love you,
minutes.
Ken.
we can go a little bit over.
I
That's
did
fine.
give you different. Oh, okay. Okay. See, there I am, like, Jack Layton Chair, tracking time and making so I did give some examples of things from the past, and what's different is many of those events and broader alternative cultures, it was often a crowded room, right? And what's very different about your work is it's all online, and it came through the pandemic, right? And I think you've done an amazing job of making space in this techno space, if we can call it that way.
I like that.
Something that at times I'm very distrustful of, like the capitalist enterprise infiltrating everything through technology, that sort of thing. Can you just talk about maybe challenges, comforts, good things about being online? I mean, I can join you today from a remote location.
Yeah.
Simple.
Mhm.
What else?
I think it's the
Or-
accessibility is the big
Yeah.
benefit. And I think because we are also like weird children of the internet, for lack of a better term, right? Like we're
Yeah.
born in like the late 90s. I think it's very simple for us to, or it's more intuitive for us to navigate this space. Like we kind of
100%.
understand the lingo and how you operate in a chat or whatever. And that's why it's interesting to go to some live streams that are maybe run by people who are like older than us, for lack of a better term. Like they weren't raised online.
Yes.
And there's a different attitude, different approach.
You also, yeah, I also think you trust it perhaps better than, say, someone of my age,
Yeah.
kind of know it can work, or you'll get it to work.
I think we know the limits of it
Yes.
very well. Like we can kind of intuit what we can and can't do, like on a platform like Twitch.
Yes.
Figure that out and then carry it out the way we want to. We're still like working within the capitalist system. Twitch is owned by
It's
Amazon.
owned by Amazon, which is not our favorite thing in the world.
Wow.
But it's free to use and it's free to broadcast the work
Yeah.
of artists. So it is kind of the best we have right now.
Yeah.
We might move eventually, but that's what we have. I think that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Well
your
said.
use of the word limits is really good. Like we know the box that we're operating within,
Yeah.
and we'll fill
Yeah.
it, and we'll
Yeah,
send
so
mail
you-
out of it. But
So you're using it very effectively, but you're not glamorizing it necessarily, the actual technology,
Yeah.
the way things
Yeah, that's true. It's more fun to be kind of sardonic about it. Like,
critical.
Yeah.
Like we're not Instagram influencers.
no.
Exactly.
No. We
Yes,
we use
exactly.
Instagram to advertise,
Right.
and that's where people advertise. We're just using it. It's not something we're not bound to any of these platforms. Really.
Yeah. And that's the the Instagrammable perfect image, the constant sterile image sort of thing. You're not doing that, and you brought that up earlier too. MJ, I remember you saying something about the art doesn't have to be pure and perfect to start. You know,
It's more fun for us if it's not. That's one
And
of the
it's
main
easier.
things.
Like
Yeah,
I
it's
do all the
easier and more
graphics
fun.
for the Instagram.
yeah.
And if I had to put everything on a grid,
Oh,
it'd take me so much longer.
If we could
Yeah,
be like careful of
exactly.
how we presented ourselves on the digital stage, I wouldn't want to do it. I just kind of like
Yeah.
to chill with my friend in the basement, and that's important to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. The and I do want to be careful about what I say because you have incredible, for lack of not knowing the word, techno artists, people who are using technology in beautiful, beautiful ways. The images are incredible on ponyHAUS. I'm going to ask one more question, and it's a big one as well. So, do you want to change the world?
I saw this in your notes.
ponyHAUS is about changing the world, or is ponyHAUS about ponyHAUS? And the answer is fair. I mean, it sounds like a loaded question, but yeah.
I'm gonna say yes.
I guess it's getting at the effect. What do you think of some of the effects are?
The world might be a bit
Social.
big, but I think we can at least change
Yeah.
our neighborhood. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's awful. I can't believe you just
But our community, everything we're connected to, which I guess is the world. So yeah, sure. Yeah, we're changing the world. Or we can. We're a part of something. We're a part of changing the world.
Yeah.
And hopefully we're inspiring other people to do something similar in a very mutual aid sense.
I think we're just leading by example, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that we're able to, you know, like the Toronto community's not that big. The Toronto electronic music scene is not that big.
Mhm.
And if you can just exist within that space and be like, yeah, I'm ponyHAUS proves that you can be dumb and do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, do stuff with kind of no, or a different kind of standard, right? Like different values.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think providing a space for people that isn't commercial, as we've mentioned before, like that is valuable. As much as we do want to pay people, and we try our best to, we're not like aiming to be a certain thing with anyone's art. It's a very open space. We're not trying to please investors, and I think that's important. And I think the fact that we can do that, and hopefully are inspiring other people to do something similar, that could potentially be changing.
I think it changed my outlook for sure, because I used to work commercially a lot, and I thought that was like the situation.
Yeah, I come from like an experimental music scene where no one expected to make any more than $5 a night, and I played like once every 4 months, and I was like, this is my art practice, and so this was a very normal switch for me, very easy switch.
No, I think you're like non-commercial space, so important, so important, especially at the moment when everything is, as you point out, even though Twitch is free, it's owned by Amazon. We're mediated through these large enterprises. So you're taking it and using it and creating a wonderful space. Of course, the downside is the labor of art. Not the downside of you. The downside of the way arts is funded is, of course, the impoverishment of artists and how they need to be supported as well, socially and culturally and politically, far beyond ponyHAUS. ponyHAUS is allowing the opportunity. You are so easy to talk to. I could go on for another hour. You're a pleasure. So thank you for letting me interview you to start out the weekend.
That means, a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here and sharing your stories. Yeah, it's great. You're the best.
Yeah, I know we have lots more hours of prep for this interview. I'm very excited for this one, so yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, me too. Well, good luck with the weekend, and I'll be in and out.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you. We will see you in the chat.
See you there. Yeah, I saw you subscribe to us. So that's great.
I know. I'm figuring it out. That's as I go along. Yeah.
Okay. Promo for stuff happening today. There's 9 people watching us right now. So hello everyone. If my mom's still watching, hi mom.
Here's my mom. Yeah, so if you're watching right now, you should come to the rest of the events we have today. We have in half an hour. Thanks, Adam Bovalatis.
Love you.
We have yoga coming up at 1:30. Very exciting with Music by Sky. And then we have a Gear Talk, Gearheads 101, which interview hosted by Ted Kennedy of Frequencies.
And featuring 2 artists you'll see tonight, Dustin Good, aka Core, and Raphael Kahn.
Yep, pretty good. And then what's our 4:30 event?
gosh. I think it's the game
Oh,
show.
Insomniac.
It's the
duh.
Insomniac game show.
Yeah, because Adam is here.
Yeah.
We're going to be sending our stream key to Insomniac Film Fest, which is something they tell you not to do. But we're going to do it. And Insomniac Film Fest is doing a game show with the artists, the filmmakers from their quarantine film.
Some kind of trivia
Insomniac the
thing.
movie game show.
Yeah, Insomniac the movie, the game show.
Yeah, we're very excited.
And
And then we have the show,
The show at 7.
which everyone should come to, and they should also buy tickets and donate.
Yeah, you should buy raffle tickets if you're here. You can go into the panels below. There should be a little thing that says Eventbrite. There definitely is. Not should be. Yeah, if you go to the donate panel, click on Eventbrite, you can buy some raffle tickets, or just buy tickets to the show. If you buy,
Or you can just send us money on PayPal.
send us money on PayPal. If you buy tickets on Eventbrite, the money will go directly to the artists that you buy tickets for. It's just a way of us continuing to fund people, try our best to. So yeah, you can be a part of that, and we'll see you at the events.
Yeah, if you can't do any of that, you can just come to the chat.
Just come to the events, and that is just fine. But you have to be in the chat. That's the only rule.
Hey guys, say hi.
Cool.
Okay.
Bye, Ken.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
My
See you
pleasure.
in cyberspace.
Yes, on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.